Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potato Diary. It's a football Friday. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Coming up on this show today, we are going to be looking at the CFL for the week, as it is a Friday, so we're breaking down the games that are left, looking at a little bit from the game last night as well. Plus, our NFL regular season preview begins, kind of. We look back at how the champions from last year were built to see if any lessons can be learned. And of course, the fantasy football preview continues with another mock draft. So it should be a whole lot of fun. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. All right, we begin with the game that went down last night as the Calgary Stampeders fall to the Ottawa Redblacks, and that is a really, really, really bad loss for Calgary. And I'm not just saying that because I took the Stampeders minus the points on the best bets page on 3 Down. This was a game that was right there for the Stampeders. They had the ball with less than 2 minutes left. All they needed to do, a couple of first downs, and it's a wrap. Couldn't do it. Then all they needed to do was stop the Ottawa Redblacks from getting into field goal range, and it's a wrap. And they couldn't do it. Now, credit Ottawa. Ward hits a 51-yard field goal to give him a win. So credit the Ottawa Redblacks for that. But from a Calgary Stampeders standpoint, this is a really, really bad loss. When you look at Winnipeg's charging hard, BC just got Nathan Rourke, Saskatchewan's getting Trevor Harris back and AJ Ouellette back. This was a time for the Stampeders to be able to make up some ground. You're undefeated at home. You're facing a quarterback who hadn't won in 999 days and had thrown 10 passes in the last 24 months. And for you to come away from that game with a loss is, I think, a real setback for the Stampeders. And this is where I tend to push back against well, it was a close game. Games can go, a couple bounces can go either way. You ever noticed how the good teams win these games more often than not? How, like, in the past, Calgary would win these close games, and it was because of something Calgary did well. And in this one, all you had to do was make a stop, and they just couldn't do it. And again, it comes back to the lack of execution in the run game. And I think it comes back to Jake Maier a little bit. If you can execute there on second down, then it's over. Also, just a quick note, Calgary snapping the ball with 7 seconds left in the play clock a couple of times. When the other team got a field goal with 2 seconds left, seems like a pretty important detail. And it's that attention to detail that has been missing for Calgary. And so I view this as a really, really bad loss for Calgary, and one that kind of changes my perception of them in my mind a little bit. On the Ottawa side of things, what a story. Jeremiah Masoli able to come out and lead a game-winning drive, and he looked good in this game, probably better than Calgary was expecting him to look. And I'm not saying quarterback controversy, because Drew Brown is absolutely your quarterback of the future. But when you look at you look at the quarterback situation, a lot of teams need 2 quarterbacks now. That's why BC is hanging on to Vernon Adams for as long as they can. But if, say, there's an injury out in Saskatchewan again and Trevor Harris goes down, I am calling daily to ask about a Jeremiah Masoli and try to figure it out that way. Because I think that a Vernon Adams or a McLeod Bethel Thompson or a Bo Levi Mitchell, you're probably priced out of. Masoli is probably making a good chunk of change as well, but it might be a bit more reasonable to acquire that player again if there is an injury at the quarterback spot. And honestly, for Calgary, I think you start looking around at some of the quarterbacks who are probably better than the one you have. And maybe it's time to make a bit of a shift, because that was a game that was right there. But I don't want to take anything away from Jeremiah Masoli, who came out with a tremendous performance, turning back the clock and showing the quarterback we all thought he could be for years and years and years with Hamilton and then in to Ottawa. So that's what happened on Thursday. What's coming up on Friday? Let's get into my CFL picks. It is week number 11 in the Canadian Football League, and it continues tonight with Montreal taking on Saskatchewan. If you want a full in-depth breakdown of this game, I do a Rider-specific show called the Rider Happy Hour. It is wherever you get this content, both on YouTube and in podcast form, just all in the podcast feed. You can look for it there. With this game, Montreal, I think their defense is going to be a big standout in this. I have said before my worries about Saskatchewan on the offensive line. They have had 5 right tackles in the last 6 weeks, I believe it is, or 5 in the last. It's been too many in a short amount of time. And that is a problem for the Riders. Even with Trevor Harris back, I do think that upgrades the offense. But if he's not going to have time to throw, he's not going to have time to throw. I think Montreal's pressure defense is going to get to Saskatchewan. The way that they're able to disguise their pressures, I think, is going to cause a lot of problems for the Rough Riders in this game. Offensively for Montreal, no Philpott is a huge hit, but this is a team that has been built to withstand some of these issues. Fajardo goes down. All right, Alexander comes in. Philpott goes down in that game. Rambo was dynamite in Montreal in their win last week. I would expect him to pick up right where he left off. I think Rambo is going to have a real good game here for Montreal. I think the Alouettes go on and win this one. Edmonton taking on Hamilton. Hamilton is going with Powell at quarterback. We talked earlier in the week about how tricky of a situation this is for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And what did they do? Well, they're going with Powell at QB. My thing is, the issue in Hamilton has never been the quarterback. And so even if Powell comes out and just exceeds all these expectations, I still don't think it's going to be enough. It's crazy to me that I'm on the Edmonton side of this, but both these teams are just kind of eh. And I think Trey Ford is a better quarterback than Powell is right now. And they're just kind of playing better football. So I am going with the Edmonton Elks in this over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Winnipeg taking on the BC Lions. Winnipeg coming off of a sound and thorough ass kicking of the BC Lions a couple of weeks ago. Things are going good. But now they're facing Nathan Rourke. And even if Rourke only knows 75% of this playbook, him at 75% is better than any quarterback this league has right now, probably. This is such a bit of life that has been brought into this BC locker room. I would be insane, I think, to pick against the BC Lions in Nathan Rourke week. So I think the Lions do end up getting the job done. But this is going to be a really intriguing week as we creep closer and closer to Labor Day. All right, that is the story from the Canadian Football League. Let's shift gears now and get ready for the NFL season. We've been getting ready for fantasy, and that's going to continue at the end of the show. But we are going to start our look at the real NFL with a look back to last year. How were the Kansas City Chiefs built? Let's look at it. The NFL season is upon us, and I always think it is nice to kind of look back and see how the best do it. So today we are going to look, I do this in every sport, how they were built, the Kansas City Chiefs, looking at how they put together their championship roster. We begin with Patrick Mahomes. The Patrick Mahomes trade tree is insane. I did it a couple of years ago. We're updating it and running it again probably on Tuesday next week. The trade tree is just absolutely wild. But what you need to know is he was acquired from Buffalo in a draft day trade. The Chiefs move up and they get Patrick Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco was a 7th round pick in 2022. That is incredible value to get that player. Rashee Rice, a 2nd round pick, 55th overall in 2023. Obviously, there's a lot going on off the field with him right now, but a very valuable piece of that team last year and was really coming into his own. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, free agent signing in the offseason before 2022, 2023. Not a huge hit, but still a big one. Obviously, one of the big ones here is Travis Kelce, the Pro Bowler, a 3rd round pick, 63rd overall in 2013. I would say that's worked out a little bit. On the offensive line, you have Donovan Smith, a free agent signing before last year at left tackle. At left guard, their Pro Bowler, Joe Thuney. By the way, when I'm saying Pro Bowler, it just means for last season. He was a free agent signing before the 2021-2022 season. Creed Humphrey, a 2nd round pick, 63rd overall in 2021. He also was a Pro Bowler last year. Trey Smith, was a 6th round pick starting at right guard for the Chiefs as he goes 226th overall in 2021. That pick was part of a package that was sent to the Jets to get Sam Darnold for the Panthers. Also part of a swap with the Panthers where Carolina moved up and Kansas City takes Trey Smith and Noah Gray, kind of their backup tight end in waiting. And then on right tackle, it is Jawan Taylor, free agent signing before the 2023-2024 season. On the defensive side, George Karlaftis is a 1st round pick, 30th overall in 2022. You have Chris Jones, defensive tackle, 1st team All-Pro last year. He was a 2nd round pick, 37th overall in 2016. That pick was part of a deal with the 49ers that they sent to the Chiefs to move back into the first round to get Joshua Garnett. Garnett started 11 games in 3 seasons before retiring in 2020. I would say that trade down worked out for the Kansas City Chiefs. Also on the defensive tackle spot, you have Derek Nottie, a third-round pick in 2018. That pick was traded to Baltimore as the Ravens moved up to get Mark Andrews. So not that this team needed a Mark Andrews, but interesting how that one worked out. At defensive line, fifth round pick in 2020, 177th overall was Michael Dana. In the linebacker spot, Willie Gay, second round pick, 63rd overall in 2020. That pick was acquired for D Ford, which at the time looked like oh my God, what is Kansas City doing getting rid of D Ford? They end up getting the pick that turns into their starter. Nick Bolton is a second round pick. He's their middle linebacker. 2021, second round, went 58th overall. Leo Chenal, a outside linebacker, started for them last year. Third round pick, 2022 NFL draft. At corner, you have Trent McDuffie. He goes first round, 21st overall. In the 2022 NFL draft, pick acquired from the Patriots as Kansas City moved up 9 spots to get that player. L'Jarius Sneed, fourth round pick in 2020. Kansas City moved up to get him with the Tennessee Titans. Justin Reed, a free agent signing before the 2022-2023 season, and Brian Cook, second round pick in 2022. So what are the lessons that we can learn here? Obviously, the biggest lesson that allows Kansas City to do what they do is have Patrick Mahomes, which is not something anyone else can do. He is a one of one in this sport and is, I think, already the most talented quarterback in the history of this league and may go down just as the GOAT. So all of this that I'm going to say after is 100% with the asterisk on it that having Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are the two biggest reasons the Kansas City Chiefs have gone on to win the Super Bowl. But you still need to surround them with talent. And what you are seeing on this is a team that has hit on their draft picks. A team that, like you look at, there's a couple first round picks in here, right? And those first round picks have really hit, right? Like Trent McDuffie, I think he's going to come up a few times. This preview season. George Karlaftis, same thing, like a dynamite defensive end at the back end of the first round. Rashee Rice is a second round pick, comes up with some big plays, helping them win a championship. Creed Humphrey, second round pick, helps them win a championship, Pro Bowler down the middle as your center. Second round pick in 2016, Chris Jones, first team All-Pro. Second round pick, Willie Gay. So yes, they are picking late in each of these rounds, but they are going out and they are acquiring some pieces that are going to be plugged in and make an impact. They've also, I think, done a really, really good job of recognizing the players they want, having an understanding of how the draft board is going and moving up and down accordingly. There's a couple of these where it's, okay, well, this was a move down. We went out and got Derek Nottie. Yeah, you got Mark Andrews. You probably needed that, but we were able to get a starting defensive tackle. We have a pick swap here. Let's go get a starting right guard and our backup tight end. The Patrick Mahomes one is just brilliance all around. And so this team has done such an amazing job of building this thing through the draft. And that is what you have to do. And they have to keep doing it because Patrick Mahomes' contract isn't getting cheaper. So when you have to deal with a gigantic contract on your books, you have to make some sacrifices. And they did that with Tyreek Hill. And then again, you're able to replace him with Rashee Rice and a second round pick. You get this year a late first round pick with Xavier Worthy that can kind of be your speed guy. You have to hit on some of these late in the round or just later round draft picks, and the Kansas City Chiefs have been marvelous at that. And so that is one, again, I don't want to push back on it entirely because you have Patrick Mahomes, and that is the big reason why Kansas City was able to win the Super Bowl last year in the last couple of seasons. But when you see people like, well, the only what, like, well, I mean, what do you expect? These guys were drafting late in drafts. So they, late in the first round, you're not going to get those difference makers there. Trent McDuffie's a difference maker. George Karlaftis is a difference maker. They were drafted 21st and 30th overall in the first round. It is inherently more difficult to just not be drafting at the top of every draft and still supplementing your roster with solid picks. But I do think in the NFL, you can get those guys. The one thing you can't do is get that quarterback. Kansas City recognized it, moved up, got Patrick Mahomes. I love how this team has been built and how they have been able to put this together, where you recognize a franchise quarterback, you move heaven and earth to get to that franchise quarterback, move up, get him. And now for a bit, they supplement him with Travis Kelce, who's still there, with Tyreek Hill, who's amazing, but not there anymore. We'll also get to that trade tree on Tuesday. You bring in like these veteran pieces that and these very talented pieces that help him out. But when that quarterback progresses to a point where you have to sign him now, then you are able to kind of supplement it still by nailing some late round draft picks. That's how you turn into a dynasty. And it's like Buffalo has to do it now. The Chargers are doing it a little bit with Justin Herbert. Green Bay is going to have to do it. Miami's going to have to do it. They don't have Patrick Mahomes, but if they can hit on some of these late round and late in the round draft picks, that is how you win championships. So that is how the Kansas City Chiefs were built and how they built their Super Bowl contender and Super Bowl winner from last year. All right, hopefully we can help you build a winner now in fantasy football season. We're already to mock draft number 5. Let's get into it. All right, welcome everyone to mock draft number 5. As we get ready for the fantasy football season, we're doing a mock draft from each spot on a 12-team fantasy football draft. We've done rounds 1 through 4. So today on the Sleeper app, we are doing round number 5. So let's get into it. Or not round number 5, pick number 5. You know what I'm saying. All right, so our first picks. Boy, that was way loud. Okay, our first picks go CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall as the running back early on. Sorry. Don't know why that opened up like that. Anyway, Breece Hall and Tyreek Hill. So we are left with the decision that we have been left with a few times. Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. And I have said before, I think Jamar Chase is the better of the two. He is in the better situation. Maybe he's not the better of the two. Justin Jefferson's really good, but he's in a better situation, which is enough of a tiebreaker for me. So I am going to go with Jamar Chase there. After that, it's Bijan Robinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then Jefferson goes, followed by Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Garrett Wilson, and Saquon Barkley. So we've had a couple interesting things kind of sitting for us here. I'm not in a spot where I love any of these running backs here in the second round. We're not going to go quarterback. I mean, maybe this wouldn't be a bad time to just, let's see what happens when we do get one of the early quarterbacks. Looking at some of these options here. Oh, you guys know I love Deebo Samuel. I don't know if I want to risk it not getting Deebo. Man, like there's two guys who have, like Jacobs, it feels like he's a guy I could wait on. And Samuel also feels like a guy I could wait on. I want both of them, though, and I certainly won't be able to get both of them. I think that part is pretty obvious. And, like, running back does fall off quite a bit. So I think I'm being a bit too picky, maybe not wanting to get Jacobs. Achane, I just worry that he's just not really the guy there. And so I'm looking ahead of Josh Jacobs. And we're going to go Derrick Henry in the run-heavy offense with the Baltimore Ravens. Josh Allen goes immediately after us. Then Olave, Ayuk, Pacheco. There goes Jacobs. There goes Achane. There goes Evans. Laporta is off the board, which does mean we get Deebo Samuel, which is, it really seems like something that I've been getting in basically every draft. And so right around now is where we start to look at the quarterback spot. I think it was team 2, then we got a little panicky it's team 3. We got a little panicky when the quarterbacks and the tight ends were kind of falling a little bit, and a couple of those have gone. Kelce has gone since we last picked. Hurts is off the board, as is Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud, and Lamar Jackson. So the top quarterbacks available right now: Anthony Richardson, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love. I want to come away from a draft with one of those guys. Looking at tight end, there is McBride, Andrews, Kincaid, Pitts, and Kittle. I want to come away with one of those guys. I think I can wait on them a little bit. And so I think this is a spot where we can take advantage of a player who I think is being a little bit underrated, and that is Joe Mixon. He is I think, a talented running back in a very talented offense. And so to be able to get Joe Mixon in this spot is glorious. So we are going to take Joe Mixon here in the 4th round. I feel really good about that with Henry and Mixon. Our receivers are Chase and Samuel. The tight ends, Andrews and McBride, have come off of the board. Kincaid is out there. It's Kincaid, Pitts, and Kittle. I think I'm going to risk it and see if we can wait on Kittle coming back around to us here in the 6th. We're going to wait on quarterback as well. Boy, that might be too much waiting for where we're at right now. Looking at some of the receiving options. You know what? I think I have really been underselling. I've really been underselling T. Higgins a little bit in some of these. And so I'm going to, because looking at how the draft board has shaken up right now, Team 1 doesn't have a tight end. We don't have a tight end. Team 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So a lot of them don't actually have tight ends. It's just the teams immediately around me that do. And so I'm not going to risk it. We're going to go with the tight end who I think is the tippy top. I have him ahead of Kincaid and ahead of Kyle Pitts. It is George Kittle in this spot. I just don't want to miss out on one of those guys. And so it does mean missing out on T. Higgins, which is a bit of a bummer. So now we're waiting on the quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson goes. We've seen a bit of a tight end run here with Kincaid and Kyle Pitts as well. Okay, Joe Burrow is off of the board, but we still have Kyler Murray in this spot. Now, this is where I have been jumping kind of at Kyler Murray. I do wonder if we could wait a little bit and what it looks like if we get like a Dak Prescott or a Jordan Love in kind of the next round. So let's go. I just worry about Rome Odunze. I think he's really good. I think he's really, really good. But I do worry about the opportunity there. Now, Keenan Allen does get hurt. But banking on that for a 6th round guy is a bit of a stretch. And so this is honestly why we have come to getting the quarterbacks here, is that there isn't a whole lot of guys in the 6th, 7th round that I feel comfortable taking this high. So we're again going to go with Kyler Murray as our quarterback. That feels like kind of the way it has gone for us so far. And now swinging back around between our pick and now, it was DeAndre Swift, Rome Odunze, Terry McLaurin, Najee Harris, Evan Ingram, Dak Prescott, Zamir White, and Jaden Reed. No players that I am upset about missing. I'll say that. And this is another one where I think we get a really good spot because we get, we're going to take Raheem Mostert here. I get HN, explosive, all of those things. Could absolutely take the number 1 job in Miami, but Mostert is going to have a role in this offense. So give me Raheem Mostert here in the 7th round. That is something that we have been getting. Is a couple of decent, I think, starting running backs here late in these drafts, or not late in these drafts, but kind of in the middle of these drafts that we've been feeling really comfortable with. And so now looking at it, like we absolutely. Maybe we wait around and take Jordan Love in the 7th there. But I like I said before on the Kyler thing, I don't feel like we really missed out on anyone. Jordan Love goes the pick before ours. So we are back up here on the board in the 8th round. Quarterbacks available are Brock Purdy and Caleb Williams. But this is that area where I have said I want to come away with a couple of guys. In these middle rounds, mid to late rounds, I guess we're at now, I want to target a Christian Watson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jamison Williams, and Brian Robinson. Those are all the guys who I'm looking at targeting right now. So we have the 3 running backs. Let's go with the 3rd wide receiver. Let's go Christian Watson in this spot, and we'll see if one of those guys swings around to us. Jalen Warren's another one who we wouldn't mind getting in that spot, and honestly, maybe I probably should have gone that way instead. So that's a bit of a lesson learned. But now we are going to come away again with one of our other guys. It's tough. I think Brian Robinson could be the guy. Let's see the note they have on him here on Sleeper. Or maybe I've just added him to a queue. Sorry. Never mind. I thought there was a note there, but I just misread the app. So it's down to Jackson Smith and Jigba, Brian Robinson, or Jamison Williams for me. Just looking around here, like Blake Corum is an interesting running back piece. I think I'm gonna go Jamison Williams. I just have a feeling this guy's gonna turn into something special here, and so we're gonna go Jamison Williams. I would love it if Blake Corum didn't come off of the board here. We're looking for Corum, Robinson, or Jerome Ford for our next pick. And so coming off of the board, Robinson did go. We probably should have expected that. A couple more quarterbacks in Tua, Goff, and Daniels. Corum does go before us. So this is basically an auto pick for me. It's Jerome Ford, running back for the Cleveland Browns. They're saying here limited work in the preseason. I think Ford is good, and I think that he is going to get a significant amount of the work as a running back here with Cleveland, and to get him in the 10th round to me is a steal. And so this is why I don't mind going with the receivers early on, because we have been getting Mostert and Ford pretty consistently in the back part of these drafts. Now it comes back around to us here. We're in the 11th round. We have to pick a defense. We have to pick a kicker. We're not in a spot where we are going to do that yet, but we have been taking them a little bit earlier than usual. I think this is a good spot for a Zach Charbonnet. Actually, I feel like people are really sleeping on him and treating him just as like the full backup running back to Kenneth Walker, and that is simply not going to be the case. I think Charbonnet is going to get quite a bit in that backfield, and so we'll take Charbonnet there and feel very, very good about our situation in doing that right now. As it loops back around, Aaron Rodgers going in the 11th round. Still a lot of running back, or a lot of wide receivers going. Xavier Legette is a little interesting. I have said before, check your league settings, because I am in a league where you get a point for every 30 kick return yards, and I think Rashid Shaheed is going to be impactful in the offense and also get some opportunities in the kicking game. So maybe take a look at getting him. So players available right now, it is J.K. Dobbins at the running back, along with Jalen Wright and Ty Chandler. Kendre Miller and Marshawn Lloyd also there as well. At wide receiver, it's Brandon Cooks, Gabe Davis, Josh Downs, Jahan Dotson, Jalen Polk, Ricky Pearsall. All of those guys are going. So we've reached on defense a couple times in these drafts. I still don't think we have to. Dobbins is an interesting piece for me, but I do think another wide receiver here is good. We've been getting Jalen Polk a little bit. I'm going to go Ricky Pearsall. Just based off of the Brandon Ayuk stuff. Now, it sounds like Pearsall maybe isn't picking things up in this offense all that well, but I still think that there is an option there for him to be very good on this team. And so immediately after is Brandon Cooks, J.K. Dobbins, Kendre Miller, and Jalen Wright, followed by Kirk Cousins, Gabe Davis, Ty Chandler, and Algier. And so now we are here in the 13th round. This is where I'm going to want to get ahead on the defense, because as it loops back around to us, we're going to be behind on the defense and kicker thing. So let's get ahead of it. Let's get a defense. Let's get the San Francisco 49ers defense in here, and lock that position down. We will take another player for our bench after that, and then we'll go kicker last. If Jalen Polk could stay in that spot, that would be, I think, a huge get for us. And he does stay there, so this works out really well. There are a couple of options that I don't mind here. Jalen Polk is one of them. Dontavian Wicks is another for Green Bay. I was going to say even an Adam Thielen. I don't know if I love an Adam Thielen. We had Mark Andrews earlier. Isaiah Likely isn't a bad one to go with. Even at running back, like Vidal, I think is interesting. Jaleel McLaughlin may be a little bit interesting. But to me, it is Jalen Polk. And to be able to get him a couple of rounds after we were debating him and Pearsall, I think works really, really well. And so now it comes back around to us. It is time to draft our kicker. We will take the best of what is left, and that is my boy, Daniel Carlson, with the kicker spot here in the final round. So I'll tell you what, I really like this team. I like this team a lot. At quarterback, we have Kyler Murray. Our starting running backs are Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon. At wide receiver, we have Jamar Chase and Deebo Samuel. Our flex will be between Mostert, Watson, Williams, and Ford. And then on our bench, at running back, we have Charbonnet. At wide receiver, we have Pearsall and Polk. Our kicker is Daniel Carlson. And our defense, the San Francisco 49ers. So that is going to do it for this mock draft, and that's going to do it for a Football Friday. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, if you like this video or this audio, if you are watching, make sure you like it. If you're listening, make sure you leave a review. Subscribe wherever you are tuning in. We got a lot more like this coming up in the next coming weeks, and then the football season is jammed. So we're going to get to all of that as well. So thank you all so much, and I will talk to all of you next week. Have a great day, everybody.